Greetings, Bowtie Guy 85 here, and we are continuing our formal wear mini-series. So in the last video, I discussed the origins of the white tie and tails. Now we're going to discuss all the accessories or intricacies that go into the classic white tie and tails look. So, like I mentioned briefly at the end of my last video, the thing about white tie and tails, there's a specific way the look is to be worn. Now, there are some minor details that can be variated on, but overall, the look should be pretty much the same from the next person to the next person. There's almost a uniformity to it, or they're supposed to be. So I just want to discuss some things that are big no-nos for white tie and tails. So the thing with white tie and tails, if you're doing the white tie and tail look, you need to do it just exactly right. If you vary too far from it, wear too many different kind of things, it goes into some very faux pas territory, and it's not good. So first I'm going to discuss the suit itself, which I showed a little bit in the last video, but it's a tail jacket. So in front is almost like a mess jacket, where it only comes down to the navel. You want it to be roughly about the same height as the waistcoat, and trust me, this matters. If you have a different kind of vest on and the vest hangs down lower, no good. The vest, it's usually low cut, comes down here towards a V. If the vest comes up too high, no good. You want to be able to see the placket of the shirt, and you should not be able to see the waistline of the pants. It should come just slightly below the waistline. Everything should hit around the navel. As you can see, the points of my jacket and the points of my vest match. So it's not just about what you wear, but it's also the execution. So everything has to fit a certain way. Everything should lay on you a certain way. It should be very streamlined. And it's a tail jacket, so you have I'll come back here so you can see a little better. You have the tails that extend downward from the jacket, as opposed to a morning coat where the whole jacket comes down. This is just the tails, the back of the jacket. Now let's discuss the shirt. That's just as important as the suit. So, unlike the tuxedo where I mentioned there's a few different kind of styles of shirts you can do. You can do a lay-down collar, you can do a wing collar, you could do a plain white dress shirt if you're in a pinch. The white tie and tail, there's really only one kind of shirt. Now you could get away with a manufactured shirt if you have the right collar, but traditionally with white tie and tails, you want a tunic style dress shirt. What does that mean? That means the shirt does not have a collar, and the collar is attached separately, which I have here. Now there are two kinds of style of collar that is acceptable. The one I'm wearing here, which is an imperial collar, and it is a tall collar, so instead of like the collar flipping over like you would a lay down collar, it stands completely up. Or the wing collar, which I have here. Both are acceptable. If you're really going for a 100% traditional white tie look, you definitely want the tunic shirt, you want the detached collar. Either collar style, it becomes a matter of personal preference at that point, which is where I mentioned there are some minor details that you can vary it on. You do have a little bit of choice, but overall it should be streamlined. Now, the shirt, it's not going to have buttons, you're going to use studs. I mentioned studs in my studs and cufflinks video. Usually with a white tie look, since you're doing the white tie and you're doing the white vest, you're not going to do black studs and black cuffs. You're going to do mother of pearl. Now I'm a little extra here. I have some fancy actual pearl studs with a little crystal detailing, and then I have the cufflinks to match. So you want your cufflinks and your studs to match. This should be a set. Usually it's mother of pearl. You can do, the most common would be like the black studs I showed in my last video. They make those in a opaque or mother of pearl style. That would be the most custom. You could also possibly do like a silver stud set. But if you're going for that 100% traditional finish, then you definitely want the mother of pearl. Now, I have my white braces here to hold the pants up. You may see some, I think I mentioned this in one of my other tuxedo videos, where you have some pants that have the side adjusters. That's perfectly acceptable, and you don't have to have the braces, of course, with that. But a white brace is traditional, something that's going to match the overall white aesthetic. Really, the suit itself is really the only thing that should be black. Everything else should be white except the hat, of course. The vest, I'm going to take this off here just so we can talk about vest. I did mention the waistcoat, but there's a few little things different here that we can do. You definitely do not want a traditional vest where it just comes to a V at the chest. You definitely want a waistcoat that's going to come all the way down to the navel. You want to make sure that the vest is wide enough, however, that it's covering the waistline of the pants. You don't want to see any of the waistline below the vest, and you don't want to see any of the waistline poking above the vest. Now, I've seen some people do cummerbunds with the white tails. No, 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 no. It must be a waistcoat. It must be low-cut waistcoat, not a high vest, and absolutely not a cummerbund. Very no, no, no. And then I've also sometimes seen people do a black bow tie with the white vest. No. You can do black tie and tails. That's a totally acceptable look, but then you're wanting everything to be black except for the shirt. So you're going to have black vest, black tie, black studs, and cufflink. But with white tie, it's called white tie because it's white tie. So you definitely need the white tie. Now, I may have mentioned with the tuxedo, a clip-on tie, if it's a decent quality, you may get away with it. It may be acceptable, especially if you're doing a rental. But with the white tie, you definitely want a self-tie bow tie. You want one that you tie yourself. You can either do the butterfly style like I have here, but if you really want to go for that authentic vintage look, I would look for a bat wing, something that's more of a flat-edged, all the way across. That's going to give you your more traditional look. Something kind of out of Downton Abbey looking, which is something I should have mentioned in the history video, as that show has kind of revitalized the look a little bit. Now the vest, I'm showing the vest here. There are a few options for vest, even though you have to do the low-cut vest. You can get one that's full canvas. Mine is a half canvas, as you can see. There's no back to it. It attaches along here. That's not as traditional. Again, if you're going for the traditional look, you want a full canvas. But the thing is, when you've got the tailcoat on and you leave the tailcoat on, you really can't tell that the vest is half canvased. So if you're only able to find the half canvas vest, or if it's more economical for you to go with the half canvas vest, this vest was considerably cheaper because it's only half the material. That's perfectly acceptable. Now, let's discuss shoes first. Now, I did an entire 3 video series on shoes, and I briefly mentioned for white tie, you definitely want a patent leather dress shoe, or you want opera pumps. Now, if you're going for that traditional look, you want to be a realist with the look, definitely go for the opera pump. That's going to be your most true to form look, but a patent dress shoe is acceptable. Now, I mentioned with the tuxedo you could get away with a black Oxford. Not with a tail suit. You have to have the proper dress shoe. You want something that, I'll show my shoe just one more time for you guys. You want something that has a bit of a heel to it, and just kind of has that, again, streamlined look. That's the word of the day here. You want a shoe that has a nice shine to it, that's going to give that luxe look, or the opera pump with the detailing on it. The thing about the shoe is this is an extravagant over-the-top look, and the shoes should be no exception. So you want your shoes to be just as elegant and extravagant as the rest of the overall look. Now we'll get into some minute accessories. So I mentioned the bow tie here. Definitely you want one that you tie yourself. Now let's talk about some other little things here. As you can see, I have white gloves on. Very traditional with white tie. Now some of these minute accessories are not, oh shoot. Alright, now that we have discussed the suit and the shirt and the shoes, I want to move into some more minute kind of accessories. I already discussed the bow tie briefly. Definitely want to make sure that you have a self-tie bow tie. We discussed collars. Technically that could be considered an accessory since it's detached from the shirt. I showed off 2 styles of that. And I am going to be doing a video more in depth on the history of the detached collar and how to properly attach it and everything associated with that. But I want to move into some of the minute accessories. Some of these accessories are not mandatory for a white tie look, but again, if you're going for that traditional 100% stylistic viewpoint, then these are some things that you definitely want to know. So let's start with gloves. As you can see, I have some white gloves here in my hand. That's very traditional. With formal wear, there, especially the white tie look, there was always this kind of thing about really the face is the only part of the body that should be seen, so the hands are covered as well. It also, it just classes up the look. The gloves aren't as important. You can get away without having the gloves, but like I said, if you're going for that 100% completion, then you definitely want to have the gloves. These are just a cotton glove, nothing fancy. You may see some satin gloves, more fancier glove, something with a little more detail to it, but pretty much whatever you choose is going to be acceptable. You just want to make sure it's a decent quality. You don't want anything that's like poorly constructed or takes away from the look. You don't want to just grab any old white glove. You want something that's going to add to the look and not detract from it. Of course, the pocket square. I mentioned the pocket square in my video on tuxedo accessories. And again, you can do a basic sort of T-square fold. I like to do a rolled puff, but I do something a little more modest than I would with like my regular kind of suiting look, and just kind of tuck that in. I usually hide it behind the lapel. That is something else I should have mentioned about the jacket. It's almost always the peak lapel. If you have a notch lapel, then that's not a true traditional tail jacket. And the pocket square, it should be there, but it shouldn't be distracting, so I like to hide it behind the lapel and just kind of visible but not distracting. You can also do a boutonniere or some kind of brooch, kind of lapel adornment. You can do like a carnation, even if it's one of those like fake flower pins, which sometimes I do as well. I normally do a red one, or you could do a white to go with the white look. The red gives a little pop of color without really going overboard. I would avoid any other kind of colors, however. This is just a little snowflake brooch. I thought the crystal would tie into the adornment around the pearl of my stud. That's why I chose that. Watch and chain, of course. If you have the decorative fobs, you'll display that in the middle, of course. I just have the chain with my watch, so I kind of tuck it onto my waistband here, and then the watch goes into my pocket. And that just, again, adds a little something as you walk around. You see the chain hanging down. It just gives a little something extra. It shows that you really, all these little touches show that you put effort into this look. The cane or walking stick, it's usually black stick, usually made of wood. It's usually finished, some kind of lacquer to give it a little sheen. As you can see, mine catches the light just a little bit. The bottom, it's not really, you think of canes, you think of like old men or women using it as walking. This is strictly a fashionable thing. The top is usually some kind of bejeweled adornment. Sometimes you'll even see like those crystal doorknob kind of things. You'll see diamonds, you'll see gold plated things. You may see silver as well. You may see some designs like bird heads or feathers or different kinds of animal kind of styles, or just kind of ornament kind of things. This, again, not something you have to have. You can get away without the walking stick, but again, if you're going for that 100% authentic look, then this is something you want to look into. Also, there's an art to this. So when you're walking with the cane, it's all about posture. And the collar helps with that a lot. The stiff collar, it keeps your neck a certain way. So it holds your head up high and you walk with the cane. You kind of lead with it. It goes out first and then your feet follow. Just nice, simple steps. And it's kind of a visual thing. You know, you're making your grand entrance, all eyes are on you. And you just kind of come in head held high, confident that you're looking your absolute best. And the cane is a great way to add to that. But again, not necessary. But it's fun. And last but not least, the top hat. Now, the thing with hats, you can't just do any old hat. You can't do a fedora. You can't do anything like that. You do a top hat, it has to be top hat. Now, this isn't the highest quality top hat, but it will do for this video. So it's just a little something I picked up from the costume shop. It has kind of a velvet finish to it, similar to my crushed velvet slipper that I showed you. You may find some better quality hats. You don't want anything that's too tall. This is a nice height. You'll see some that are a little higher, that's fine. Some of them may have a little shape to them where they kind of curve in and come up. That's perfectly acceptable. You want to make sure that it has that nice sheen to it that's going to really coincide with the satin trim on the lapels and the pants. You're also going to have this little detailing around the brim. Sometimes it'll have a bow with it, something a little more decorated. But that is the top hat. And the overall tail look itself. I just wanted to we discussed the history, so I wanted to go into detail. Anybody who's interested in putting together the white tie look themselves, this is what you're looking for here. I hope you have found this video informative. I hope you stay tuned for the last video of my series, if you have made it this far. I'm going to be discussing detached collars, and we will call it a day. But I hope you have found this video informative. Hit me up in the comment section. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time.